The American Revolution.
Motivations for colonization. The English seek to colonize mainly because of profit, religious freedom, and to escape the continual persecution they received.
13 original colonies. The colonies were on the east coast of North America. Northern colonies were settled by Puritans and Pilgrims. Southern colonies were settled by Protestants and Catholics who controlled the power. The Quakers were in the middle colonies.
Navigation Acts of 1651. The Navigation Acts of 1651 were acts that Parliament intended to restrict colonial trade to England. This act required all trade between the colonies and England to be carried on English boats. This affected mainly the southern colonies because the trade to planters and merchants was greatly reduced.
French and Indian War and English debt. Began in 1754 and ended in 1763. The British won the war. The war gave Britain a lot of territory in North America. There was a lot of expenses that came with the war, and the colonies led to the American Revolution.
King George III. King George was born on June 4, 1738. During King George's rule, there were a lot of wars. Many people thought he was insane. King George's government was very unstable.
Proclamation of 1763. The Proclamation of 1763 was issued by King George III to stop any colonial settlement west of the Appalachian Mountains. The people who had already settled west of the mountain range had to move somewhere else.
Sugar Act. The Sugar Act was a law raising revenue in 1764. It was disliked by the colonists because it just raised money for Britain and did not help the colonists out in any way. Sugar was used in many of the food and drinks they consumed.
The Stamp Act. The tax seeked to help pay for the British troops living in the colonies. The government made a tax on stamps, playing cards, documents, and paper. The colonists responded by boycotting these goods and started saying no taxation without representation. It was passed in 1765.
Responsible for organizing and planning the Boston Tea Party.
The Boston Massacre took place on March 5, 1770. America wanted independence from Britain. Patriots were unhappy that Britain troops were residing in colonies to force a tax that America did not approve of. British used guns and colonists used snowballs. 5 people died.
The Tea Act. Passed in 1773 to reduce the amount of tea that was being stored in the EIC. This angered colonists because they were never happy with this.
Colonists were so mad that they went on EIC ships and threw all the tea overboard. 92,000 pounds of tea were dumped. First event leading to the American Revolution. Common Sense by Thomas Paine. Thomas Paine wrote this because he was fighting for America's independence from Britain. This was one of the most influential writings in history. It was written in 1776. It states that Paine believes that America is not viewed as an independent country by other countries, and that America is big enough and strong enough to handle that responsibility. Enlightenment thinkers that influenced the American Revolution. Thomas Paine. His writings helped the people support the revolution. John Locke. His writings had an impact on Thomas Jefferson writing the Declaration of Independence.
The Declaration of Independence. It was written by Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Roger Sherman, Benjamin Franklin, and Robert R. Livingston. It laid out the fundamental rights of America, striving for equality and liberty. The 5 parts consist of introduction, preamble, body 1, body 2, and conclusion. It was not a document of war, and it was written on July 4th, 1776.
Revolutionary War. British advantages. Strong military and well-rounded soldiers. Advantages of the colonists. Knew the land. George Washington led the Continental Army. William Howe led the British. Loyalists were people who remained loyal to their government in a time of revolt. Tensions between America and Britain grew so much that they had a war. Britain started the war. Britain surrendered to the Continental Army in Yorktown in 1783. America won the war. The war lasted from 1775 to 1783.
The Treaty of Paris. Negotiation between Britain and America. It ended the Revolutionary War. It was written in 1783.
Articles of Confederation, written on November 17, 1777, first Constitution writing for the U.S. Government was too weak to enforce laws in this writing.
The Constitution and why it was adopted. It created federalism. There were 3 branches of government. It begins with, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our prosperity, do, ordain, and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
Election of Washington. Washington was in office from April 30th, 1789 to March 4th, 1797. Washington was unanimously elected President of the United States. He was the first President of the U.S. Washington won the support of each participating elector.